Hi, I'm Caroline Leavitt, and I'm the co-founder of Mighty Blaze, the book initiative that began the day of lockdown when I and many other writers lost our tours, bookstores shuttered their doors, readers had nowhere to go to find out gossip or to talk with their favorite writers, and we're now 4 years old. We're more than a toddler, so I can't wait until we're teenagers. So today we have something special. So first I have to show you my prop, which is monkeys. This is in honor of the wonderful writer Bill Roorbach. And this is like Beep's cousin, and that's Beep in his hand. And we're celebrating Bill's book, Beep, which is absolutely wonderful. You can see the cover behind Bill. I cannot find my copy. I've been looking all morning, so which only means I'm going to order another one, so that's okay. So let me just introduce Bill, and first some housekeeping. If you want to ask Bill a question, just pop it in the chat and I will ask it for you. Any comments you have, we love comments, pop it in the chat. We at Mighty Blaze prefer that you buy your books at indie bookstores. And to make it really easy for you, I've put in a link to bookshop.org. So all you have to do is click on that link, takes you right to Bill's books. Okay, so let me tell you about Bill. Bill is the author of the most phenomenal books in the world. Lucky Turtle, which was a New York Times Book Review Editor's Choice and winner of a Montana Book Award. The Girl in the Lake Stories, longlisted for the Story Prize. The Kirkus Prize Fiction Shortlist finalist, The Remedy for Love, just a gorgeous book, and the best-selling novel Life Among Giants, which won the Maine Literary Award and was optioned and developed for an HBO series. His nonfiction includes Temple Stream, which also won the Maine Literary Award in Fiction, Into Woods, which was excerpted in Harper's Magazine, and Summers with Juliet, Bill's first book and a classic of nature writing. Every single one of Bill's books is still in print, except for one. And so I put in the press that we really need to ask for it, so that one will come back into print too. Beep is this wonderful, wonderful novel. It's perfect. It's perfect for our times. It's about a spider monkey who's smart, talkative in his own language, and he's saving the world. It's also a book about deeper issues, the profound friendship between Inga, an American young teenager, and Beep, the spider monkey. And of course, it's about the very serious topic about climate change. And it has a cameo by Greta Thunberg, too. So here is some of the praise. The wonderful Kate Christensen says, Beep is a wonder. Both monkey and novel, our hero's curious, questing soul, the ebullient brilliance of Roorbach's prose, wildly beautiful, funny, moving, entrancing, and hopeful. This is a story for our times, a ray of warm and generous light, a stern warning, a triumph of storytelling. I would agree with that. It's absolutely a triumph. Elizabeth Mackenzie, author of The Dog of the North, says, with a lexicon worthy of Anthony Burgess, our small but mighty hero is quick to recognize the perils facing our fragile world. But Beep is a love story, most of all, told with the poetry of a pure heart. I agree with that, too. So welcome, Bill Roorbach. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Caroline. It's so good to be here and great to see you.
It's great to see you too. And I want to tell people that this is recorded and it's going to live on a Mighty Blaze YouTube station forever. So you can watch it as many times as you want. And it'll probably be a podcast in a couple of months. So you can listen to it again as many times as you want. You already have a million questions, but I have to ask my questions first. So I'll get to your questions in a moment. First of all, I want to know the most amazing thing about this is it's told from the monkey's point of view. What was it like being in the mind of Beep, a very smart spider monkey?
He's a squirrel monkey.
Squirrel monkey. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's okay.
Right. Because I accidentally call him a spider monkey all the time. And he's furious about this because spider monkeys are well known to be assholes. So,
okay.
So you know.
Oh, I'm so glad that Renee Herskowitz also asked a question and called him a spider monkey too. Now I don't feel so.
Yeah, you see. Anyway,
Anyway,
Just kidding. It's a natural mistake, but and I make it all the time. Funnily, it was weird and great being in his mind because you know this from making novels. Is you posit a character, even just a name sometimes, and it just the person takes off with or without you, and you get to
right.
know them, and once you get to know that, you kind of keep them in control for your story. But he was very, I mean, he immediately had this kind of naive sweetness that I just had a great time uh, being with him, even though writing it was super hard and made me miserable. His presence always called me back and pulled me through the book. He's a sweetie.
Tell us why it made you miserable, or is that just the normal misery of being a writer?
Yes, yes, it is, Carol. It's miserable. Didn't anyone? A lot of it was fun, I got to say, but I just the older I get, the harder it seems in a way, But I'd be there I'd say, okay, today I'm going to work on this monkey book, and then all day I wouldn't do a thing, and I'd do everything, anything else. And at about 11:30 p.m., I'd be like, okay, you did not work on this book. You cannot go to bed till you put in some time. And I'd force myself to write, and I'd be like, stupid monkey. And then some, but at those moments, and they weren't all like that, that's when all the best beepy stuff came out.
Yeah, I always say it's your subconscious is churning even when you're not writing. And my best writing always comes after a really atrocious day where I do nothing.
Or
I want to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You come down to that once you go, okay, one sentence, you big idiot, and you make one sentence and you go have lunch or something. And then that sentence turns out to be the one that turns the whole project.
That's right. That's right. I live and die by Post-its. In fact, I have a comment right here that I thought of for my novel. So I figure okay. Oh my God, that's so great. That's so great. I want to talk about the language. I know one of the quotes mentioned Anthony Burgess, who wrote A Clockwork Orange. And I was thinking of that too, because I studied a little bit of Russian, and that was part of the pleasure of The Clockwork Orange, because he would take words like "хорошо," which means very good in Russian, and write it out as horror show.
Yes.
And Beep does the same thing. He says humans, YOU-MENS for humans. He says Manhattan for the city, which is the most perfect description of New York City I can think of. So tell us your process in that. Did you have to build a dictionary, or did the words just come as you were writing? How did that work?
The words came as I was writing, and maybe later revising, I would realize that I had called, I used a word for something familiar to us, and then I'd remember and have to go fiddling back and find it, So I wasn't smart enough to make a dictionary, but the copy editor did do that, and that was really helpful.
Great. That's great. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I want to ask, how does character building work with Beep in an animal rather than with a human? Because Beep most certainly grows and changes in the book, which is so lovely, when he falls in love and he gets brave and strong. How did you use the same methods that you use for human character building? And if so, what are they?
I guess I did. I mean, it's so different from my other books that maybe that was part of the difficulty making it. I was always mystified how to proceed, but people always told me, he always, and I think the little girl made it all happen somehow. Inga,
yeah,
he's never had a relationship with a human, and he doesn't understand humans at all. He's quite mystified and amazed by all our inefficiencies, and that we think we're smart, and obviously we're not, because he can see how dumb we are. There's evidence everywhere. Here we are ruining our world. I mean, what kind of knucklehead would kind of knuckle monkey would do that? So I think but he gets to know Inga, who has a similar innocence and yet drive and a forthright vision. So he's able to see, he's able to grow into the understanding what the problem is, and then with her help, he figures out how to solve it. And that he's part of some great movement of animal mind that is going to fix this mess that the humans have made.
Yeah, that we have. I just want to read you some of the comments. Stanley Patrick says, congrats. Renee says, hello from gorgeous Southeast Florida. Robin Stull says, hello, Hall. Barbara Buckle says, hi, Bill.
Hi,
Happy
Barb.
to see your smiling face and to meet Beep. Stanley Patrick says, looking good, Bill. Nice to see your face. Renee Herskowitz says, Bill, you're a new author to me. Nice to meet you. Marsha, hi. Marsha Butler says, I cannot wait to read this.
Marcia.
She's great. Okay, we've got Cheryl says, hi, Beep and Bill and Caroline. Okay, this was my next question, and Renee Herskowitz actually asked it, so let's show it. Renee said, have you ever spent time with a real live monkey? We'll take up the spider, squirrel monkey. Do they tend to have heart issues?
I spent time in Costa Rica, where my first trip was to a biological research station where I was in residence as a writer and learning from scientists. That was awesome. And every day we ran into monkeys and interacted with them in various ways. I think they tend to have heart issues in captivity. I don't think they have heart issues in the wild, but I might be wrong about that. A very funny thing happened. My friend, and probably yours, Johnny Evison.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote, I posted this early on that I was working on this, and he said, oh, I grew up with squirrel monkeys. He had pet squirrel monkeys when he was a little boy. They were still legal. So I have to confer with him. But as far as heart issues, gosh, that would be awfully sad to be to be a friend with a monkey who had heart issues. But I think for the monkeys, it's not something they spend their time worrying about.
No, they don't know, and Beep doesn't. That's right. We have another question I'll ask now. Might as well. You put it up. Barbara Buckles asked, how long was the idea for Beep percolating before you began writing the book in earnest?
This was a fairly quick one. I had spent so much time on Lucky Turtle that I really told myself I want to do something quicker, a shorter book, and with a simpler cast of characters, perhaps. And I wanted to do something that involved climate change. But I didn't want to write an earnest book where I was pointing a finger at my fellow humans, and, I'm part of the problem, as we all are. But I want it to be fun in some way that would call us in, draw a reader in, and get that reader to question her own place in this mess we've created, Anyway, so one night I had a dream. I woke up and I had the phrase, I am Beep, monkey. And I wrote it down on the Post-it note next to my bed. I am Beep, monkey. And when I woke up, I saw that and I laughed. It's funny. And then I put it on my shirt and walked around with it all day just to see what it was. And then I stuck it on the lampshade on my desk there. And it's still on there. And that's about 2 years ago or more now, a little more than 2 years ago. And I didn't know what it meant. I mean, what? And but I decided one day I don't know, it's just time to start a new book. So I just said, what am I going to write? I don't know. So I wrote down, for a joke to myself, I wrote down, I am Beep, monkey. And then Beep started talking. It just went for like 20 pages. In one of those headlong rushes that we sometimes get, we desperate writers. And I brought it to my writing group and said, is this insane or is this what's going on? Because I thought it could be a vehicle for a book about climate change that wasn't earnest at all, but that would still touch people and make them think about their own role in it. And the writing group said, my writing group is 4 more wonderful novelists, and they said, well, one of them, Lewis Robinson, said, I wish I was writing this book. So that made me,
That's the greatest compliment.
it was. That made me
Yeah.
feel so good. And then I kept going with the suffering I described, but I kept going until it was written. Original draft was 150 pages, which was sweet. The
That's
final
nice.
240 or something as I filled it out.
I want to read you two quotes from the book that I wrote down because I thought they were so moving.
Oh,
Beep says humans are just animals who forgot.
yeah.
He also said humans think in black and white. Those two phrases just really resonated for me. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, they resonate for me too.
I
And
mean, I just,
I think the first one is one of the moments where he surprised me, and he does talk a lot about that humans had a place in the animal kingdom at one point, and
right.
somehow got too big for their britches and forgot that it's all a system and put themselves above that
Right.
system, which he gradually comes to understand, and he understands that as the problem, that he means to try to solve. Yeah, it was just Beep talking. I tell you, and then I heard that and just thought about it a lot, and then tried to weave it into the nature and the structure and the message of the book.
How did Beep help you to see the world more clearly?
Well, he and his monkey troop, all the monkeys he knows, which is the world he knows at first, till he meets Inga. They divide humanity into goers, who are the people always in their cars and building houses and roads and making a mess of monkey land, and then the growers, who they're kind of fond of because they grow pineapples and things that
Right. They like pineapple.
they love pineapple. They love to eat. I got that because I remember seeing a monkey raid on a farm when I was on the biological research station. I went on a field trip, and the monkeys raided the farm for pineapple.
Wow.
It was super fun to watch. And those were spider monkeys. So everyone, but I doubt the squirrel monkeys would be quite that bold, which he explains. But anyway, I was like, I think, maybe I'm a grower. I have a garden. I mean, and then I'm driving my car, and so I'm like, well, I can't drive this car anymore. I got an electric car because of writing Beep, and I'm trying to change a lot of things. I've stopped eating meat for the most part. I'm flexitarian. I'll still eat some meat, but much more thoughtfully and carefully. And these are just some of the things he taught me. And they're finally the final category of humans is the sensitives. And it's those people still have a contact with their sense of being animals in a part of a giant web of caring and compassion. And the monkeys are very aware of these people. And when they see them in their world, they can spot them, and they can actually feel them. They can feel the big hearts of some of these people. And so they know there's some okay humans out there. And I just felt like he was telling me, aspire to be a sensitive. Can you do that? What are some ways you could work toward that? And then the book defines it and puts them forward so that, I don't know, I hope Beep teaches us to just take a few steps toward being sensitives.
This is an odd idea, but I kept thinking about it. If you could, compress this into a kid's book for children, something that could be taught in the school. So if that particular book wouldn't be banned in this climate, but I mean, it just seemed such a magical idea and such a good way to get people involved in. I mean, I'm really worried about the planet. Yeah. I'm really worried about climate change. I'm really worried about what's going to be happening next in the political spectrum, because people they don't realize that it's happening, until it happens to them. And I think that's Renee had another question where she said, do you both think in black and white? I don't. Renee, neither of us think in black. None of us think in black and white. I think that's something that Beep thought, but I also think that there's a danger in the people who do think in black and white, where they would think, well, I don't have any tornadoes around me or droughts or earthquakes.
Yeah.
Climate change is just nothing. And I think it's that kind of black and white. I have to see it to believe it. Thinking is what's scary. That's what's really scary.
And when you hear me say it, that it feels a little vaguely insulting. But when you hear Beep say it, I think it won't.
Yes, that sweetness.
He'll try to help him understand that there are plenty of humans, and maybe most who don't, of course, don't think in black and white, but that a lot of the problems that we cause come from a certain kind of black and white thinking.
Yeah.
So there are animals and there are people, or there are, there's so many of these. So, yeah, good. I'm glad, Renee. I'm really glad that you think in color. That's good. As artists, we would tend to, Caroline and I, but
explode in color.
Right. I mean, right. But when I do this book, it's kind of like it helps you catch yourself out in the moments when you do think like that, because we all do. And when we do, that's generally we can trace some of our troubles back to that kind of thinking. And that's everybody. That's me too. And even probably some monkeys here and there.
So we have another question here. This again is from Renee. If you could be a non-human, what would you be?
I think, well, in my belief system, I'll get that chance because, we're put on Earth as humans to punish us, and then gradually we get to be cooler animals until finally we are houseflies or something of a higher order like that. What would I want to be? I don't know. I would love to be able to swim the way a dolphin swims, or probably some kind of bird,
a bird would be great.
Live in the sky would be so cool. And what if I can't? I mean, in this life, I won't know about other lives. So in this life, what are the ways I can be a non-human presence, and what can I take from animals and make use of, and try to get to be part of that web. And that way I am, in a way, I'm non-human. If I'm just a little sensitive and a little compassionate, I think we can move away from the kind of boundaries that make us divide ourselves between humans and non-humans. And by the way, human and non-human, that's a black and white dichotomy.
Yeah, it is. I want to talk about zoos. I don't want to give anything away, but there's a wonderful section of the book which is about zoos. And I find this really interesting because, as a kid, we were always taught zoos are fun places. It protects the animals. Then you get older and you start seeing the lion going around and around in circles because he's maddened by being imprisoned, and just some zoos are just concrete and there's nothing for the animals whatsoever. And even recently, there's still an argument from some people saying, well, zoos do protect endangered animals. And I'm not so sure about that, but I think you might have something to say about that, about zoos. And do they have any good?
I guess. And the other argument is that they show people who never would get to see these animals, there they are to view, and a kid sees them and realizes there's a bigger world and more creatures to care about and that sort of thing. So, I'm not completely, against, but the truth, and they've improved them so much.
They have improved.
And there's better food, and there's all sorts. But no matter how you slice it, those animals are prisoners, and that's hard for me. And that it's not like they did something wrong to deserve this. Or many of them are born into zoos now. That's all they know. They're probably among the happier animals. Maybe there's some species that's, but but the basic impulse feels wrong to me when
Yeah.
instead of keeping zoos, we might work really hard to keep natural environments safe for these animals so
Right.
that they can exist where they belong, and humans stay out of there, except to for study or I don't know. What's the answer?
I
Beep
don't know.
knows. He knows. He fixes it all. I'm telling you.
That's right.
But I don't know. It's too hard. It's too hard. I just know I can never go to a zoo again because to see like a polar bear at the Central Park Zoo pacing and rubbing his fur off. The guy is a prisoner. I mean, they may have moved him since. This is many years ago that I used to go look at him and
it's terrible. I know, it breaks your heart. Did you ever see the Twilight Zone where I'm sure you did, where this man comes to a different planet and they all look like humans and they give him a nice house and then he finds out he can't, all the doors are cemented shut. Then the curtain parts and it's all these Martians pointing at him because he's in the zoo. He's the zoo animal.
That's a great episode. Now remember it. Rod Serling was a guest lecturer at my film class in Ithaca because he lived in Ithaca of all places.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
It was kind of cool, and he talked just like Rod Serling, which is so cool. And there's also, of course, the Vonnegut book, Slaughterhouse-Five.
Right.
Billy Pilgrim gets put into a dome on Tralfamadore, and the Tralfamadorians all clap when he makes love. And
that's right.
They clap like this. They have one hand on their head. Anyway, but imagine being locked in a zoo. I mean, that helps.
That's terrible. It's terrible. We have a really good question from Cheryl McKeon. Beep's delightful sense of humor helps us to accept his dire observations. Did you work to be sure to include humor, or was this Beep's idea? And tell us about the audiobook, please. Yeah, you recorded it. You narrated the audiobook, right?
Did, yeah. I'll start with the first part, and start by saying hi to Cheryl, who's a great bookseller who works in Syracuse now, but I met her in San Francisco when she worked at the book on the stores on the bay. What are they called again? Well, I'll remember later. Anyway, yeah, he's funny. He made me laugh, so I think it's cheap, really. I mean. And who could be laughing in some of these dire situations? But he's full of silly jokes and puns, and he quotes literature all the time. Where does this all come from? I think it's because he's so tapped into all consciousness that he gets more and more sophisticated as the book goes along. I was reading Great Expectations while I was working on this, and I think he got a bit of a Charles Dickens voice going.
You have to do it. Do it for us.
I don't know if I can. Okay, but that brings us to the audiobook. For the audiobook, the voice I got for him was really just me, but more gentler, very gentle. And then my comedy voice I used for some of the old uncles, which is like beep, beep, that kind of thing. But it was really, I loved recording the audio. It was really fun. The director was in Los Angeles, the producer's in New York, the engineer's 3 doors away in the studio here in Portland, Maine. And I just read the whole book over 4 7-hour days.
Wow.
Now,
Wait, 7-hour days? Did you had breaks, I take it?
Yeah, there was a break. I took a nap on the floor, and it was a rock and roll studio, so they had a beautiful Steinway piano in there. So for breaks, I would go play the piano, which was great. It took me out of and rested my voice a little bit. I enjoyed it, but I'll tell you, it was grueling too.
I would think so. Did you lose your voice at all?
I lost my voice a little, not too bad. My daughter's an actor and gave me, as your son is, and she gave me advice on keeping my voice good. And I got tired. I'm old, and my feet got tired. My legs got tired. I did it standing up. I tried sitting, but it's hard to get that big energy out while you're sitting. Anyway, it was super fun, and it dropped today. So if you want to
Oh,
get it wherever you get your audio book,
yes.
preferably on whatever that's called. What is
I
that
don't
called?
remember.
Well, we don't remember. But
We don't remember, but buy it. Buy it. Wherever
Fun's
audiobooks
independent
are sold.
bookstores, and it's a
Yes.
great place to get. But any place you get them, you can get the audiobook. And it's me doing beat. And I had to do voices. Which is so. I mean, I didn't have to, but the director kept saying, "Now, how does a platypus sound?" And I'd be like, "They're from
That's right. There are
Australia."
giraffes, the
So I go
long
like,
necks.
"Good eye, mate." Try that sort of stuff. And
That's so
anyway,
funny.
mostly it was pretty dumb the voices I came up with. And then if you came back to a character, the director would say, "Wait a minute, that doesn't sound like before. Engineer, could you go back and find the original?" And
Yes.
they'd play it back for me, and I'd say, "All right, all right." And it made it, I hate it when they do voices in audiobooks, but somehow I just started doing it. So I couldn't just, like at a reading, you don't do all the voices. You just read the stupid
Yeah,
book
you hear the voices in your head.
in your head, and you keep it neutral so the
Right.
audience can hear voices. That's what we want. But here, but for Beep, I was very gentle, very wise and smart, a little naive, and with a froggy voice, because I did lose my voice a bit. Anyway, what type of research did I do on climate change? Well, partly I just lived on the planet, and I live on the ocean here. And I'll tell you what, in a very short order, I've seen some huge changes, big stuff. The higher sea level, Casco Bay is one of the fastest rising bodies of water in the world. Serious things have happened. We had a storm last winter that destroyed houses all along the coast, beaches, marshes. That's just one of them. All you got to do is watch the news, and you're doing research.
Right. That's right.
And the animals are suffering disproportionately, and we're losing a lot of species, partly because of our activities. So what else did I do to research it? Well, it's many years of being very interested in it. And in Costa Rica, I spent time with a climatologist who he was working on all sorts of evidentiary stuff from the rainforest. How are things changing? How is it affecting speciation? How is it affecting plants, animal, biota, all the things? It was super.
We're all connected. Everything is interconnected, and people don't see that.
And it's hard to understand given all the disinformation and propaganda.
Right.
Climate scientists, in fact, all scientists are. It's 100% agreed, 100%. And when you see that a science spokesperson who's somehow saying that climate change isn't real, it's almost always this one guy who's a meteorologist. Who I look at him and I go, that is a C student if I've ever seen it.
That's right. That's right.
I get that, And but the short-sighted money people, let's call them capitalists, for not want of a better word, oil people, in many instances, have spent, even though they know that the science is correct, they know this, despite that, they've spent a lot of money to convince a large swath of the population that it's nonsense, and they're very cynical about it. And so that's part of the research you have to do too, is what's real, what's bullshit, and how do I be a sensitive in a world of liars?
Right. Well, I think you have to resign yourself to being an outlier in some sense. That there's always going to be people who think it's nuts. There were always people who thought, when they call climate change global warming, people would say, "What do you mean? Summers are always hot." That's not what they mean by that.
Well, deliberately monkey with the language, if I may speak of monkeys in that way. And I don't know. So you asked before about, could this be a children's book, and would it get
Yes.
banned? And I suppose that would be the reason it might, but there's no swearing in it, and there's no sex except for some procreative monkey sex.
Yeah, and
And
that can be. I just think that I think that children as well as adults would
children
love
will
it.
love it.
They love
Yeah.
it. And it's all the zoo stuff and and it's told
Yeah.
in such an exciting way, and there's a prophecy, and
The monkey's cute. I believe that it's going to be popular among young readers, and I'm
good.
sure that that's a focus of the marketing efforts. And I hope parents, share it with your kids. What's to be scared of? They're just monkeys.
Right, right,
They'll
right.
steal your wallet on the beach. So,
I bet they will. What's the worst advice you've ever been given about life or writing? That's more telling than the best. The best is always the same.
wow, that's a good one. I think I specialize more in giving bad advice to
Oh, like what? Like
writers.
what?
I'm always trying to make them write like me, which I think is a good thing to learn, actually, is to reject bad advice. I just remember a certain college teacher who I revered. My first story I put in the workshop, he said, you're never going to be a writer.
Oh,
And I'll tell you what, that made me a writer, because I set out to show him, and I have, and I've gotten old enough to utterly and completely forgive him and understand, but I'm not sure why you would ever say that to any student. I don't know, but that was the old school. That's the way teaching was
right.
done.
That's right. I had a professor who did that too, who said you're never going to make it.
And
And
now it's
then
the opposite. Now you're
it's
like,
the
oh
opposite.
my God, this is going to be a bestseller, and you just lead them toward a horrible life of depression and misery
And poverty.
yeah. So, well, poverty. Anyway, enough of that. George Carlin, I'm going to let you read this.
Okay, this is from Mark Edwards, and this is our last question.
Hi,
George
Mark.
Carlin once said that humans are arrogant to think they can save the planet. The earth will shake us off like fleas, he said. Are you hopeful that we can indeed reverse course and save ourselves and our fellow inhabitants? It's a chilling question.
Yeah, I am not hopeful at all. I think we're not. I think we're going to kill ourselves, and the question is, can we do it fast enough to save some of the other creatures? And that's really what this book is about. The planet's mortal. The sun's going to blow up in 4.5 billion years. We're all mortal. All the species are mortal. There are countless billions of other planets that could very likely harbor life, and I'm okay with mourning it, like I mourn any death. Friends die more and more, and the planet's going to go. That's just going to happen. The question is how, and how many innocents will get hurt in the process. And in a million years, who will be the evolved smart species next? Will it be like horses or houseflies or
Winhams from Gulliver's Travels. Remember the Winhams? The horses?
I do remember them. That book. Oh my gosh, that book.
Yeah.
My mother read that to me, and to us, to all the kids. And we didn't. She read the unabridged. It's full of bosoms and
Yeah.
human sexuality. And wow. I was like 11, and I thought, Gulliver. This is good stuff. But the Brobdingnagians, the giants.
That's right, the Brobdingnagians. I remember.
So many of the words we use in daily discourse.
Yahoos.
So I'm hoping sensitives and goers and growers come out to be kind of like those words, and that they help us smooth the transition to our deaths. If we're mortal and we're gonna die and we're gonna end up in hospice, don't we hope that we can arrive there peaceful and with a peaceful feeling in our heart, that we've learned a few things, that we've made some changes, this is individuals. Can we do that as a species to get some wisdom before our inevitable demise? It's going to happen one way or the other. looks very strongly like it's going to be suicide. That's okay. And I'm hoping that we leave enough other creatures that the next wave, because there's billions of years left,
Right, right.
some wonderful creature, some wonderful conglomeration of molecules and amino acids will ball up and figure out how to be smart, and maybe they'll do it right.
Maybe they'll do it right.
Right. Maybe there'll be some book left over from our civilization, and they'll have it in their museums, and someone will translate it and say, the problem, here was the problem.
Right. That's right.
They separated themselves from animality. They thought profit only lived in abstract constructions.
That's right.
Not in beauty, and not in kindness, and not in compassion. So we, the intelligent beetles, maybe it's going to be beetles.
Cockroaches.
Let's hope so.
They can survive anything.
We have this knowledge because we watched a capable species blow it.
Yep.
Because they got greedy.
Well, I want to remind everybody again, I put up the bookshop.org link, so you can order all of Bill's books. They're all wonderful, and they're all different from each other, which is even more wonderful. You can subscribe to Mighty Blaze. This on YouTube. This particular interview will be on YouTube, so you can tell your friends. You can watch it again, and this will most likely be a podcast in the next few months. Thank you all so much for being here. Go forth and be kind to the planet. That's what I'm going to tell you, and I'll see you all next time. And Bill, you just stay here. Bye, everybody.